In this example, we're going to introduce a concept of exponents, and we're going to use an application problem. So solve the problem below. Use the rectangle below to represent the problem visually. So let's start highlighting givens and goals. So Don makes a rectangular 20 square foot cake for the state fair. So this is going to represent the 20 square foot cake. After he wins his award, he wants to share it with the crowd. So that's very nice of him, and I'll keep that in mind, but there's nothing really to highlight. First, he cuts the cake into 2 pieces. Then he cuts the 2 pieces into 2 pieces each. Then he cuts all of these pieces into 2 pieces. He continues to do this a total of 5 times. Now I see my question coming. How many pieces of cake does he have to share? Okay, so we're going to do this process as if we're Don and this is our cake. Okay, so it says first he cuts the cake into 2 pieces, and we're going to assume equal pieces. So I'm going to draw that right down the middle. So that was my first cut. I'm just going to keep track of them because we have to do a lot of cuts here. Then he cuts the 2 pieces into 2 pieces each. Well, here's the 2 pieces. If I cut them into halves, I cut them into 2 pieces. So that was our second cut. Then he cuts all of these pieces into 2 pieces. So now I'm going to split all of these in half. Okay. And that was my third cut. Okay. And I know I did more than one cut, but I'm thinking of it as the third time I cut the cake. Okay. And it says he continues to do this a total of 5 times. So we need to cut these in half, each of them, cut them into 2 pieces 2 more times. So to cut these into 2 pieces, I'm going to go this way and this way. So that was my fourth, let's call it fourth cut so we know we were cutting more than once. And now we need to do this one more time. So to cut these in half, I'm going to cut this way. So I just did my 5th cuts, and these are all the cuts Don made. Okay. So now we want to see how many pieces of cake he has to share. Okay. So we can count these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice each of these rows is going to have 8, and there's 4 rows, and that's going to be a total of 32. Okay. So this isn't the only way you can cut it, but no matter which way you cut the pieces, eventually they might be different shapes, but eventually you would get a total of 32 pieces. Now notice I use the final rectangle to think of it as 8 times 4. Okay. But we want to use the idea of cutting each piece into 2 pieces repetitively to write a mathematical expression that represents this. Okay, so it could have happened that I cut it so it was 16 and 2, or it could have been 4 and 8 the other way. So I want to use this idea. So we started with 1 piece, and our first cut made it into 2 pieces. Okay, so let's kind of make a little picture of this as we go. So we started with 1, now we have 2. Our second cut gave us 2 times as many pieces, or 4 pieces, because we cut the 2 pieces into 2 pieces. Now our third cut, we cut these 4 pieces, each into 2 pieces, which doubles them again. So we multiplied them by 2. Now our next one, we're multiplying all 8 of these, the 2, 2, and 2, by 2. We'll have that many more pieces since we're cutting them in half. So times 2. And then lastly, we did our 5th cut where we have 2 times all of these pieces. There's 16 when we cut them in half. Now we have 2 times that. Okay. So notice this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that's a little bit cumbersome. This is repeated multiplication, meaning that we're repeatedly multiplying the same number by itself. Just like with a repeated addition, we would say 3 times 5, 3 copies or groups of 5 is 5 plus 5 plus 5. So you would add 5 to itself 3 times. Here it's similar, but we're not adding, we're multiplying. And we use, since this can be a little bit tedious, imagine he did this 20 times, we wouldn't want to write 20 factors of 2 here. We use the notation of exponents that you may have seen before, where we have 2, and we put a superscript, so superscript means high up and small. Okay, we put a superscript 5, and this tells us we're going to multiply this number by itself this many times. So we're going to look at the language and notation of exponents to look at this a little bit further in the next video.